what happened to the movies. Every film coming out is a remake, reboot, unnecessary sequel, or adapted from a book. We have beaten originality and left it for dead. It forces you to ask, what the hell happened to creativity? Hello and welcome to Double Review. No, I'm not calling it Movie Night anymore because I recently found out that Jonathan Palmer had already taken that name, so I thought I'd just change it before I get into some actual trouble.
We've just been hacked. Could be worse than Snowden.
Facial recognition got a hit.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Why would it come back now?
Our first movie tonight is Jason Bourne, the fifth installment in the Bourne movie franchise, and just like Ice Age, it really should have just ended after the third film. The film takes place sometime after the Bourne ultimatum, and Jason is brought back into action for the CIA to learn more about his past whilst working for the agency. There's also a subplot in the film involving a mogul who wants to create a new form of social media. However, people are a little bit worried about this because they're concerned that it could be a breach of their personal privacy, especially in these post-Edward Snowden days. Amidst all the brilliant things that were in this film, this subplot drags on for so long that at one point I even considered leaving the cinema. If I were just watching this on my computer at home, then I would just probably switch it off and do something else. That being said though, there are the positives in this film that are absolutely worth talking about. Despite the slow and very unpaced story, the action sequences in this film are enough to make Skyfall and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation blush. There are pure action scenes that just keep you hooked in through the entirety of that moment in the film. So at least the movie did something good there. Now the acting in this was really good as well, especially from Alicia Vikander and Matt Damon. They did truly put their hardest into this production, and unlike a lot of films that I've seen lately, not mentioning any particular names, but they didn't look like they were just going to be there for a quick amount of money. They didn't really give off that vibe. They actually felt like they wanted to be there. They actually wanted to be in that film. Now the shaky cam was something that did really bug me. Now okay, I know the Bourne franchise is kind of known for having that element in it, but this time around it was so annoying and so overused that it actually left me feeling a little disoriented. The camera movement in this film is so bad that at certain points, whenever they were looking at something on a computer screen trying to read it, I couldn't understand what they were looking at. It was almost impossible to read. I got enough of this in the Hunger Games, and it also reminded me of Battlefield Earth with their slanted angles. I can handle a few of them every now and then, but when it's basically just forcing it down your throat, then there's going to be a problem. And you know you've got a pretty questionable movie on your hands when I begin to compare it to this.
While you were still learning how to spell your name, I was being trained to conquer galaxies.
Guys, in the end though, this did have its good and bad points in it, but overall, I'd say it's worth skipping. And so for that, I'm going to be giving Jason Bourne a C-. I get the feeling that originality is completely dead now. Big studios killed it, and it's now pretty much gone forever. I have also realised that I went through the entirety of this review without mentioning the Bourne legacy. Ah, shit.
Dory, there you are! Look out!
Oh, look at this.
Our friend got taken into whatever this place is.
It's a fish hospital.
I feel fantastic!
Listen!
Dude.
Our next movie tonight is Finding Dory, a film that was clearly begged so much more than a sequel to Dread. Seriously, where is that sequel? We've been begging for it for years. Proving once and for all that Hollywood has officially run out of ideas, and that they're pretty much just going to keep repeating the same formula over and over again until they essentially are just beating a dead horse for a living. The film takes place sometime after Finding Nemo, and Dory, along with the help of Nemo and Marlin, go on a quest to help find her parents, meeting loads of new creatures along the way that we didn't actually get to see in the first film. Let's start off with what I liked about this film. First off, the visuals and the colour were absolutely stunning to look at. Each individual shot was brilliant, and you couldn't help but look at the screen with amazement. Now, I'm a big fan of cinematography, so for me, this was a big cinematic experience all on its own. I also loved the new characters that we got to meet as well, one in particular being an octopus named Hank. Now, one reason why I do love him is that he's not there simply just to be there. He does play a very vital role in the story. He helps to guide Dory on her adventure to find her parents, as well as forming a friendship with her over the course of the film. He also seemed to be a little bit of a cocky guy as well, but at the same time, that's what helped to make him such a good character, and that's kind of why I like him, really. I also loved that it was mostly focused on Dory and not Marlin and Nemo. This is completely her own film, and you do get to see a lot of scenes where it's just focused entirely on her and the new characters that she's met. There's hardly any focus on Nemo and his dad at all. That being said though, there are some negatives that have come with this. For example, the film does stretch out at some points and it does take you into unmarked territory, which you don't really know whether or not you want to go in. It kind of reminded me of Interstellar, where I loved the majority of the film, but the third act just stretched out so much that it kind of annoyed me, actually. Despite all that though, there are some laugh out loud, hilarious moments in the story, and it does help to give it a redeeming quality. This is overall a kids film, so if you're a parent, I would highly recommend that you do take your child to see this. Now, I am sick of the phrase, oh, it's just a kids movie, you're not supposed to enjoy it. Come on, even the people who say that know that that quote is absolute bullshit. Just because the movie is not aimed at my demographic doesn't mean you could write it as horribly as humanly possible. But honestly, this is a mostly well-written film with brilliant visuals and a fantastic soundtrack by Thomas Newman. Like I said, I'm a sucker for movie soundtracks. Like I said, if you're a parent, I do recommend you take your child to see this if they do like Finding Nemo. But please bear in mind, there are those moments that I have previously mentioned that do kind of drag the film down a bit. But those parts are greatly overwhelmed by all the other fantastic things that you do see here. It's those parts that do help to give the movie a big redeeming quality. So in the end, guys, I'm going to be giving Finding Dory a B+. I seriously didn't think this would be that good of a film because at first it did feel like a blatant cash grab. But like most unnecessary sequels to films that came out decades ago, I kind of already had the right to assume that this was going to be bad. Not mentioning any films in particular once again, but unlike those kinds of films, this one actually worked. Guys, thank you so much for watching this latest episode of Double Review. Before I go, I just want to say thank you so much, because I recently just hit 100 subscribers, and to me, that is just simply incredible. I never thought I would ever actually make it that far on YouTube. I mean, 100 subscribers is nothing compared to people like Markiplier and PewDiePie and Emma Blackery, but to me it's a big achievement, so I can't thank you enough. I've been making videos on YouTube for just over 2 years now. July 25th, 2014 was the day I put up my very first video on here, so thank you so much once again. I honestly can't thank you enough. So thank you very much for sticking with me all the way from the start of my very cringy creepypasta narrations to my cringy movie reviews nowadays. So once again, I honestly can't give my gratitude enough. So other than that, guys, I've been Tartarus Pictures, and I will see you later. Good night.